Hello there, and thank you very much for joining us today in this new Azure Portal how-to video. Today we learn how to manage subscriptions using management groups. And for that, we have Cameron King, who is going to show us how to do that. So thank you very much for joining us today, Cameron.
Thanks, Leon, for having me today, and let me introduce our updated management groups extension. If you or your organization has many subscriptions, you're going to need a quick way to manage access, policies, cost, and more for these subscriptions. So using the portal, you can organize them into containers called management groups. So for example, if I were on the Xbox team, I could make an Xbox management group, add all of the related subscriptions into it, and then make decisions as a collection instead of repeating the same process and actions over and over to each subscription. I think it'll make more sense if we jump straight into a demo.
That's awesome. Let's see it.
So if you've never made a management group before, you can search above in the global search bar for Manage or Management Groups, and then click on the extension. You'll land here, and today we'll be adding a new management group structure for a fake company called Contoso. But if you're a first-time user, you'll land on the Get Started page, which has useful links on how to plan your management group structure, an example of a tree view, and some documentation on our features. So if we go back to our hierarchy, you can see we already have some management groups in this Contoso directory already. There are 2 unorganized subscriptions in the tenant root group that we want to organize today. So you can click the total subscription count and see that the 2 subscriptions are unorganized. Let's go back to the hierarchy and learn how to create a management group structure. You can start by clicking Add, filling in an ID and a display name. In our case, we want to make a new group for our new mobile app team. The display name can change in the future, but the ID will be permanent, and I'll call this management group Contoso Mobile Apps. Click Submit, and we've created our first management group. Now while we're waiting for our group to load, it's important to note that you can only see management groups that you have made or have access to. If you don't have access to a management group, but you do have access to some subscriptions contained within it, it'll appear as plain text. In our case, we have access to all groups under the tenant root group. So let's go back to the hierarchy and refresh. And nice, you can see we successfully created that management group, Contoso Mobile Apps. So let's drill in and see the details view. Now that we're in Contoso Mobile Apps, it's likely we want to have 2 child groups. Now this is because we want to separate the subscriptions that host products that are live for our customers, and then the subscriptions that would be used internally within our mobile development team. So let's repeat the process and make one group for our developers. We'll call it Dev and name it Sandbox. Click Submit, and now we've made our second management group. Let's do it one more time and make a group called Production for our published apps. And as you can imagine, this prod group would likely have stricter policies, tighter security, and tighter role assignments. Now we've submitted our third management group. So if we go ahead and refresh, we can now see our 2 new child groups under our first Contoso Mobile Apps group. Let's drill into Sandbox and then add a subscription to it. So to do that, go to the Subscriptions tab, click Add, and then select the proper subscription and hit the Submit button. Nice. So now we've updated a subscription under this scope. Let's go back to our parent management group and go to Production and do the same. However, before we add a subscription, we probably want to create a 3rd level of depth by breaking our production group into groups such as iOS and Android. So let's quickly fill in the first one for iOS here. Submit, and that's our 4th management group. And then we'll go ahead and make another one for Android. It may take some time, but if we go back to our parent and refresh, you can see that our subscription will be added to the Sandbox group and our 2 child groups. So let's refresh. Nice. We see the total subscription count of 1 properly within Sandbox, and we have 2 children if we expand on production. Now we can add a subscription to iOS by doing what we did earlier and going to the Subscriptions tab, clicking Add, and then selecting the proper subscription. However, we could also go to the tenant root group and then move a subscription from the tenant directly into iOS. And so there's 2 ways you can add subscriptions to your management groups. Click Save. And if we refresh, we can now see that our subscriptions are properly in the correct subgroups. So let's go back to the hierarchy and discuss why management groups are so powerful and why you should use management groups to create a structure. You can see that we've successfully created 3 levels of depth within our Contoso mobile apps. So if we drill into Contoso mobile apps, let's take a look at some of the features management groups provide. So first is activity log. And we can see all of the activity underneath a scope. And so you can see we recently deleted a group and added a group. Under access control, it's really neat because it allows us to assign roles to any group, and then all of its child groups or subscriptions under the scope will inherit these roles. This is extremely useful for delegating access control to multiple subscriptions at once, instead of going to each subscription and adding the role one by one. Security is our newest feature, which shows us recommendations. And here we can see that we have a score of 28% with 10 recommendations with some missing measures at the scope. And so we have some work to do. You can track deployments under the management group scope, but also what's really cool is that you can assign policies to a group. So in this example, we're not compliant because we have a rule set that requires tags on all of our resources, which we haven't done yet. You can set your own rules and specify policies at different scopes for certain departments or services, but you could also pick from many predefined policies as well that Microsoft provides. So we go back, you can lastly see that we can view a sum of all of our costs at this scope. And so instead of looking at subscriptions individually, you can set a budget. So let's say our budget is $300. And then you could get an alert, for example, if our mobile apps group is spending over that budget. So there you have it. We successfully made a management group structure with 5 management groups and 2 subscriptions. And thanks for letting me demo management groups today. I hope you find it helpful. And also, please feel free to leave us feedback as we're adding more governance features to the experience.
Thank you very much, Cameron. This was great. And thanks every one of you for watching. Please try this out. Let us know what you think. Leave us a comment in the comment section. Follow us on Twitter. And look forward to seeing you in the next video. Bye for now.